Forget the ghosts and the goblins for a minute. Tonight, let's dive into what really gets under our skin. And no, we're not talking about fiction. We're looking at real-life stories of modern horror, accounts that plug right into our deepest anxieties about the world we actually live in. These are the kinds of stories that remind you that the scariest things are the ones that could happen to any of us at any time.
So let me ask you this. How safe is your safe space? It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer, well, it's a lot more complicated than we'd like to admit. We build these walls, we lock our doors, we create these little bubbles of security, our homes, our cars, our workplaces. But are they really as secure as we think? That's the big question we're going to explore.
All right, so our first theme gets into that primal fear of the outsider. That unknown presence that's just lurking right beyond your line of sight, turning every familiar sound in the night into something to be afraid of. Okay, picture this. You're living way out on some isolated farm ranch. It's late, it's pitch black, and then you hear something that just shouldn't be there. Footsteps rustling through the cornfields. And you know right away, that's not an animal. That's a person moving with purpose, and they are on your property. So the next night, the fear just skyrockets. Because the threat isn't some distant sound anymore. Oh no, the person's back, and this time they're right at the bedroom window, staring in. And they're laughing. That safe boundary has just been shattered, and now the psychological game has begun. Now, let's switch things up, but keep that same feeling of dread. We've got a night janitor, and he's totally alone in the echoing halls of this massive high school. He's used to the quiet, it's just him in the building. But then, across the courtyard, in a classroom he knows for a fact is empty, the lights just flick on. Someone else is in there with him. So the janitor goes to the window in his own room to get a better look, and the figure across the way doesn't even try to hide. I mean, the sheer audacity of it. The person just stares right back, and then they slowly raise their hand and wave. And you know that's not a friendly wave. That's a message, I see you, and I know you're alone. So the janitor, understandably, runs. They check the security footage later, and it shows this man coming out of the school's basement, wandering the halls for a bit, and then going right back down. But when they send people down to search for him, nothing. He's just gone. The complete lack of an explanation is what makes it 100 times more terrifying. We've seen what it's like when the threat is just lingering on the edge of our property. But the fear gets so much more intense when that boundary is completely erased. So, what happens when the danger isn't just outside your window, but it's actually climbing your stairs? I mean, this is an absolute nightmare scenario. A mother and her child are home alone when they hear them, not one, but two intruders in their house coming right up the stairs. Their only way out is this terrifying leap from a second-story window onto a tiny, narrow ledge. They make it, they escape, but the horror is really just getting started. 2 weeks go by. The family is probably just starting to feel a tiny bit of safety again. And then, at 3 o'clock in the morning, the house phone starts ringing and ringing and ringing for 10 solid minutes. It doesn't stop. It's this relentless, unnerving assault in the dead of night. This is pure psychological warfare. The very next day, the mother gets a text message. It's just 5 words, but they confirm every single one of her worst fears. Why didn't you pick up? The intruders are still out there. They're watching them, and they're angry. This wasn't just a one-time thing. It's an ongoing threat. Okay, so here's a different kind of home invasion, one that starts out so much more subtly. A young couple moves into a new house, and they start hearing these weird noises, kind of coming from below the floor. Doors they know they shut are open in the morning. And at first, you rationalize it. It must be a draft or the house settling, but it's not. Just look at how this unfolds. First, it's just some faint, weird noises from under the floor. Then, doors they swear they closed are found open every single morning. This leads them to find a hidden door inside a closet. And that door opens to a ladder that goes down into a secret room where they find a cot, some toys, and clear evidence that a strange man has been living inside their walls, right under their feet the entire time. Maybe the most intimate violation of all doesn't even require physical contact. It's that unique psychological terror of just being watched. It's a feeling that leaves these deep, lasting scars when you realize your life is no longer just your own. So this next story starts with a simple act of teenage curiosity. There's this 17-year-old kid, he's cleaning his employer's house, he's all alone, and he gets, as he puts it, a little snoopy and decides to look through some drawers. And in there, he finds this small, locked wooden box.
Well, he finds the key, opens the box, and his entire world just turns upside down. It is full of photos, but not of family, not of vacations. They're photos of him. Secretly taken photos of him cleaning every single room in that house, including the bathroom. It's this chilling, obsessive archive of his every single move. So that story reveals one kind of stalker, right? The covert observer, like a ghost, just collecting data. But then there's the other kind, the more direct type, the overt intimidator. Take this couple who reported their neighbor, Kathy, for being way too loud. Her response was anything but subtle. One night, the husband wakes up and sees a figure standing right there by their bed. It's Kathy. She somehow got into their apartment, and in this raspy voice, she whispers, "We shouldn't have reported her." Before they can even react, she just vanishes. It just goes to show you no law can protect you from someone who is truly determined to terrorize you. And all of this leads us to what might be the most unsettling fear of all, the sheer, total unpredictability of other people. The realization that a totally normal, everyday situation can just explode into life-threatening violence for absolutely no reason at all. And it starts with something we've all probably experienced. Two guys are leaving their late-night shift, and a pickup truck blocks them in. The couple inside looks a little rough, and they ask for some spare change for gas. You know, it's one of those mundane, slightly uncomfortable interactions. So the workers hand over $1 and some change, but the man isn't satisfied. He looks down at the money, then he looks back up at them and says, "I'm going to need more than that." And in that one sentence, the entire encounter just shifts. The request is now a demand, and the air is suddenly thick with menace. The workers manage to scramble into their car and they speed away, but the truck gives chase. And then the woman in the passenger seat pulls out a gun and just starts firing at them. A bullet actually shatters their back window. All of this for what? A few dollars? It's a terrifying look at just how thin the veil between normalcy and total chaos really is. So, what do all these stories actually tell us? Well, they reveal the anatomy of modern fear. They show us that our so-called safe spaces are way more fragile than we think. They highlight that deep psychological horror of being watched and the terrifying randomness of human behavior. But the one thread connecting all of them is that sinking realization that you might never, ever be truly alone. So we'll end on this thought. We all take precautions. We lock our doors, we draw our blinds, we try to build a little fortress against the world. But these stories prove the real threats often come from the places and from the people we least expect. So the question isn't just about who might be trying to get in, but who might already be there, just out of sight.